We're going to begin by reviewing the Medicaid numbers and then turn quickly over to our special guest today to talk about New York State, the aging population, the services that are available to you and to clients outside of the Medicaid program. And a lot of times, like all things in New York, we get medicated to death. It's Medicaid everything, but there are a lot of things out there that you need to know about that you're going to learn about today that are non-Medicaid in nature. And then some new initiatives from the Association on Aging and the State Office for Aging that have been going on for a bit. And for that, we're going to take a look first at Medicaid numbers. Frank?
So we'll do the quick recap, and my voice is a little compromised today, so I'm going to try to talk as clearly as I can. So for income, again, if you're a single person applying for Medicaid at home, your income allowance is $1,752 per month. If you've got a couple at home where they're both applying, it goes up to $2,371 per month. That $3,853.50 number is for the community spouse, whether they're at home or in a nursing home, and one spouse is applying for Medicaid, the other one is not. And if you're in a nursing home getting Medicaid, you get your $50 income allowance. It's been that number forever. We get to do these set of numbers probably one more time next month, and we get to learn all new ones for 2024. Or 2025. Right. And then for resources, if you're a single person applying, again, it's $31,175. For that couple, it's $42,312. Community spouse, the lower limit of their asset allowance is $74,820, up to an upper limit of $154,140. And again, we've done programming on that as well. So let's stop talking about numbers and let's talk about a lot of the good stuff of what our guest is here to talk about.
So the bottom line to Medicaid is that you have to meet strict financial criteria, and it covers nursing homes, it covers home health care. But in order to do this, you have to do some major financial engineering. Part of what we talk about on this show quite a bit, Medicaid asset protection trusts, pool trusts, but there are other programs out there that we've invited Becky Preve to talk about. And Becky is the executive director of the Association on Aging in New York. She has spoken at our Elder Law Forum a number of times. She is an authority in New York State on aging and aging services. And I'd like to welcome Becky. There she is.
Good morning. And I just want to say a very heartfelt thank you to Lou and the team for always doing public education for not only professional staff, but also consumers on how to plan for our later years. I think it's really beneficial to have that available, and I am thrilled to be here. So as Lou said, I am Becky Preve. I'm the executive director of the Association on Aging in New York State, which is a fancy way of saying I represent the 59 offices for the aging, also known as area agencies on aging, throughout New York State, and really wanted to come today to talk about a whole variety of services outside of the Medicaid landscape that individuals can access to support them to be able to age at homes and communities, or if you need assistance in accessing services like Medicaid, that's what our network is here to do. And unfortunately, what we see a lot of times in not only the state of New York, but also nationally, are that people don't reach out to make plans for the future until they're at a crisis point. And once you're at that crisis point, a lot of times your options are then limited. So I wanted to talk about our preventative services, but also the innovations that we've launched to help support older people and their caregivers, because caregiving is such an important issue that we see in the state. So I'm thrilled to be here, work with Lou quite frequently on a lot of projects. And I always like to start any presentation by really doing a level set on what aging is. A lot of you that are attending today that work in this space or are in the community, we almost have this lens that getting older is this huge problem. And that's really not the case. The older population is really the backbone for the state of New York and also for the country as far as what is being provided by the older population from a social, economic, and intellectual standpoint. So I wanted to give a brief overview. We're home to about 20 million people in the state of New York. And what's not really known is that about 36% of the population in the state are over the age of 50. If you look at the most recent census data, we're losing density in all demographics outside of the 60 plus. And the fastest growing segment of the population in the state of New York are actually individuals over the age of 80. We know that people over the age of 80, about 70% of them are going to need some form of home care or assistance moving forward. So it's really, really important that we talk about investing in services that support older people. That being said, when you look at the tax base, not only in the state, but also in the nation, you're looking at massive contributions by people over the age of 60. You can see here 43% or 719 billion in GDP. To look at the state of New York, to give you kind of a lens, people in that age cohort pay $72 billion per year in state and local taxes. So they're almost half of the taxes that are being paid in the state of New York. And that's really my advocacy and lobbying side of what we do here at the association, is to try and leverage the federal and state government to contribute to aging services, because older people have paid more than their fair share in taxes. Older people are also supporting massive amounts of jobs. They're contributing billions in wages and salary. And really are the backbone of the medical system, the education system. Those taxes are all used to offset those expenses. And so it's really important that we support individuals that do have some needs as they age, and more specifically, really target individuals that aren't low enough income for Medicaid, but they can't afford to privately pay for services. And that's where a lot of people in the state reside. We're doing a ton of work on combating ageism and stereotypes. We're really, really well versed at talking about sexism and racism, but nobody really wants to talk about ageism, or that we're classifying older people with this broad brush. And again, just wanted to highlight for everybody that's attending, 80% of the New York State retirement system payouts stay in the state of New York to $10.6 billion annually. Social Security, $59 billion annually paid by New York State by older adults. If you look at the economic value of the service that's provided by older people, and you all know this from your local communities, if you look at who is volunteering for hospices, delivering meals, working at hospitals, it's not younger people, it's older people. If we had to pay them for those contributions at fair market value, it would be to the tune of $13.8 billion per year. Again, 64% of individuals own their own homes. So we talk a lot about home equity and the potential to borrow against home equity to pay for future needs. If you took New York City out of this 64%, you would see more like 80%, which is pretty significant. And then caregiving. Again, we talked about a state with about 20 million people. 4.1 million people in the state of New York are providing care for a loved one, friend, or family. Many of those in what we call the sandwich generation. If you had to pay that at the fair market value, you'd be looking at $39 billion per year. So very significant numbers as far as what older people are bringing to our economy and to our infrastructure. Next slide.
You mentioned the Social Security number, people collecting $59 billion annually. The two programs that are the staples in the federal government are Medicare and Social Security. And that's what a lot of our seniors in New York also rely on. So could you just kind of clarify where the lines get drawn between Medicare and Medicaid, and what kinds of things are funded through the Medicare program, and where those gaps lie?
Sure, and it's a great point, because I talk to a lot of people that don't understand the difference between Medicare and Medicaid. And there are some stark differences, and a lot of people make the assumption as they head towards retirement that Medicare will pay for the needs that they have if those arise in the community. And unfortunately, Medicare pays very, very little as far as home care services are concerned. I try to liken this to the only home care that would be provided under a Medicare benefit is if you have to have a skilled professional provide that service. So if you have a wound that needs a registered nurse to take care of, or if you need ongoing physical therapy to make gains in your home, you may be qualified under Medicare for a very short period of time. The nuance to that, Lou, is really you can't get physical therapy just to maintain your level. You have to actually be showing gains in order to get that in your home. So these Medicare services are very limited. Some of them do have a cost component with them where you're paying for a portion of those services, but there is no Medicare plan that will pay for long-term care in your home. And that's chronic care. So if you have a need, maybe taking a shower or getting dressed, and that's an everyday need that you have, Medicare is not going to pay for that long-term. Then we have to look at Medicaid, which also has those income parameters. And a lot of people fall outside of what are allowable under Medicaid. And I'm going to talk about our home care program when we move forward as far as where we fit in specific to the home care services program. But there is a big difference between what's covered federally under Medicare and what's covered under Medicaid, which is an income-based program.
So your first bullet here is something I think that is very important and very often overlooked. When people need Medicaid advice, they can go to an elder law attorney and they can get Medicaid and get Medicaid qualified through an elder law firm. But when it comes to Medicare, there is no real good source of information. And God knows, I turned 65 last year and I got flooded with information on Medicare supplement policies, Medicare Advantage policies. And to triage that, just to have a resource for information and an ability to get counseling, that is so important. So talk a little bit about that at your group.
Sure. And so what I wanted to really go through are what your local Office for Aging provides, because a lot of people think, oh, the Office for the Aging is just like if I'm at that crisis point, and that's not the truth. We really target a group of customers. So the primary group that we're really trying to reach are individuals seeking information, referral, assistance with benefits. And to your point, Lou, when you turn or get ready to turn 65, because the mailing starts prior to that birthday, you are inundated with a ton of information, some of it misinformation, some of it through, not the best partners as far as commission sales representatives that are going to try and sell you a plan that might not fit what your actual needs are or who's participating in your region. And that's the really wonderful thing about every Office for the Aging. So we are state mandated to have certified health insurance counselors. And what that means is those health insurance counselors are mandated under law to provide objective information on what plans are available and what's the best fit for that individual. So again, this time of year with open enrollment, you see a lot of television ads. You see a lot of sales pitches. I'm dealing with this with my mother-in-law, who's going to be turning 65 the first week in December. She brings me mail on a daily basis to say, is this legitimate? What should I do? And I have referred her in conjunction with myself to a high cap counselor to make sure that we're getting her the appropriate plan. Medicare is just one small component of what your Office for the Aging can do. Not only do we do Medicare and Medicare planning, we also screen individuals for any federal or state benefit that they may be entitled to that they don't understand they're entitled to. One of those is actually the Medicare Savings Program, where instead of having to pay your Part B premium every month, if you're of a certain income, which is above that Medicaid benchmark, we can get you your Part B back in your Social Security check every month. We can enroll you in the HEAP program. We can see if you're eligible for SNAP, which is Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Traditionally, people are eligible for a whole host of services and financial supports that they're not aware of. And in today's world with, the amount of fraud and scams and abuse that are going on, I highly encourage anyone that's going through this process or are interested in benefits to reach out to their local Office for the Aging, because you're going to get unbiased and accurate information through that process. We also, secondarily to that, that's our base level of customer that we're really trying to assist with. We can also give you information on skilled nursing facilities, all entitlement programs, what you may be eligible for. We provide patient advocacy for people that are in hospitals or looking to come out of hospitals or skilled nursing facilities. Really, we're just here for any intervention. If you have a question about a loved one or you need assistance in your care journey, that's really what we're predicated to do. And there's no cost for those services, Lou. I think that I was remiss in mentioning that you will not be charged to get this information from really specialized individuals that are well-versed in this. The second group of customers that we really look at, which we'll get into as far as our core services, are those individuals that might need some of those programs and assistance. But we also provide volunteer opportunities to keep people active and engaged in the community. We have 41 of the highest level evidence-based interventions like chronic disease self-management, Tai Chi for arthritis. Again, these are hosted throughout the state at no cost. We're serving over 36,000 individuals. And those programs, especially for people that might be pre-diabetic, might have just been diagnosed with a chronic health condition, Those are scary times for an individual in the community. And we all know this from the healthcare space. You don't have a ton of time with your primary care physician to really talk about interventions that are going to change the course of your chronic condition. That's what we specialize in. We also serve individuals at higher risk, people that need higher levels of care, might have poor health outcomes, might be going to the emergency department frequently, or might be at imminent risk of nursing home placement. And then we have a very robust caregiver support program. I'm not sure how many people are on this call, but if you look at the number, take about half of those individuals, they're currently in a caregiving journey for a loved one, and feel the stress of that caregiving journey. And we're also here to support those individuals in their care journey to access services.
So there's over 200, about 214 on right now. So 100 plus are in an active caregiver role.
So to talk about our core services, outside of what I just spoke to, a lot of people think of an office for the aging just as a home delivered meal provider. And we are a home delivered meal provider. We actually run the largest nutrition program in the country, which we're really, really proud of. But if you look at the core services that are provided in every corner of New York State, there's going to be a lot of people on this call that aren't necessarily aware that these services exist in their communities. So we run over 800 congregate meal sites, which we're now calling older adult centers, which I love. Really, when you talk about ageism, we're trying to change the lens in which we speak about older people. We don't like the name senior or elderly. We're trying to scrub those from our vernacular. We provide nutrition counseling and education by registered dietitians. So you're going to get accurate information on what you should and shouldn't be eating. We have health promotion and wellness classes. I talked about the highest level evidence-based interventions. We have a whole variety of volunteer opportunities. And we know volunteerism not only supports the community, but the volunteer has incredible benefits by giving of their time. We provide respite and caregiver supports either through actually paying for home care services so a caregiver can get respite, or in certain areas of the state, you can actually get overnight respite in an institutional setting if you have a wedding to go to. We provide legal services for lower income individuals who can't afford an attorney for estate planning, or doing advanced care directives, those types of things. We offer home modifications and repairs. We do a ton of work on elder abuse prevention and mitigation. Everybody that's on this call understands the incredible increase in targeted scams to the older population. And these scammers are benefiting with millions and billions of dollars that they're taking from older individuals. We run the New York Connects ADRC program, which is literally a 1-800 number. That is 1-800-342-9871. You can call that number, get instantly connected in every region of the state. You can call New York Connects with any type of question, Lou. So if you have a question about a mental health treatment provider, you can get that through New York Connects, all the way to, I might need to put mom in a nursing home. Can you help me? Again, we talked about our health insurance information counseling program. I'm going to talk a lot more in depth about our personal care program. As we move forward, we also provide ancillary services like personal emergency response systems. A lot of people know that as Lifeline. That's just one of the many companies that are utilized. We provide social adult day services for people to actually attend and get social interaction while a loved one can go to work. We provide transportation for the non-Medicaid eligible population. Again, this is a huge need. As you know, over 90% of the state is rural. If you're no longer able to drive and you don't have Medicaid, you are really limited in how you get to your doctor's appointments. We also run the long-term care ombudsman program, which is advocacy in skilled nursing facilities, incredibly important. And then I'm going to talk about some of the programs that we currently have to combat social isolation and loneliness, because we know social isolation and loneliness is equivalent to smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. We have to make sure that we're addressing that issue as we move forward.
So Becky, you went very quickly through that list. It's an extensive list. There are so many services available. What do people need to do to qualify for these types of benefits? So
our service infrastructure is really for non-Medicaid eligible individuals who need these types of services. So when it comes to the information component, Lou, you could be a multimillionaire and reach out to your local office for the aging, and you are going to get all the information about all the services. When you look at the meals program, there's a suggested contribution. There's no mandate that you pay for those services. You do have to undergo an assessment through our case management staff. where they will literally come to your home. They will meet with you and your family. They will come up with a care plan that meets your needs, and then they'll implement that care plan. So the only service that we have that has a component of a cost share is our personal care program, which we'll talk a little bit more about. But you don't have to worry that I'm not income eligible to reach out to my local office for the aging. You absolutely can reach out to get these services.
So thank you. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. So let's drill into some of the more critical services that the offices for aging do provide. We have a number of questions I see being posted in the chat, and we have about 10 minutes left for the formal presentation. Are you able to stay for a few questions, Becky?
Absolutely, Lou.
Great.
So when it comes to home care services, why I really wanted to focus on this a little bit more in depth is there's this assumption that if you make too much money to qualify for Medicaid, there are no services available to you. And that's just simply inaccurate. They are limited based on the funding issues that we have, but we have a program through every office for the aging in the state where we assist people that are above income for the Medicaid benchmark, but they can't afford to privately pay for the service. And that's really a lot of people in the state when you think about paying for a home health aide, to the tune of $40 to $50 per hour. It gets very expensive very quickly. And so we're here as a network to support those individuals that have some retirement, they have some monthly income, but they might still be paying their light bill and their cable bill, and they can't afford to privately pay for those services. And that's where our home care program comes in. So we provide personal care level 1, which is the housekeeping, grocery shopping, the non-invasive kind of home care services to support individuals in their homes. We also provide personal care level 2, which is the hands-on assistance with bathing, toileting, getting dressed. We use the same licensed home care provider network that Medicaid does. So you're going to see the same aides that are serving Medicaid clients will serve our clients as well. And then we also provide respite services, which are those incredibly important services for a caregiver providing care to a loved one. We know people need a break. We're able to pay for respite services for those individuals as well. And what we do, Lou, is we go in and we actually do a cost share calculation with the client. So unlike Medicaid, we take into account any of those household bills and we deduct those from your income. And most people on our home care program have 0% cost shares. So they're not paying any portion of the care that's provided to the individual in the home. And people can then have a sliding scale cost share moving forward. But like I said, over 80% of the people that are utilizing the program have 0% cost share because we're really trying to target the lower income but above Medicaid eligible individuals. And when you look at our core service infrastructure, our traditional client, if you had to go by averages, is an 83-year-old low-income female who lives alone, has 4 to 10 chronic conditions like diabetes, congestive heart failure, and needs assistance with activities of daily living, like getting up in the morning, getting to the shower. So statutorily, the people that we're serving in their homes and communities, without putting them on Medicaid, they qualify to go to assisted living or to a skilled nursing facility. And we know that absent those services, that's what's happening to people, or they're spending down to Medicaid through a pooled trust or other avenues in order to access the services. And the reason that's important, Lou, is because, we're always talking about how we can contain costs because Medicaid is a massive cost for the state of New York. We serve individuals in homes and communities on average for almost 7 years for $10,000 per year on aggregate versus $140,000 to $150,000 in a skilled nursing facility on the Medicaid side.
Yeah, big numbers, folks, and big disparity between what's being delivered.
So now on to the fun stuff, and I know we're limited on time, so I'm going to talk very quickly, but I think my email is going to be at the end of this slide deck. I would welcome anyone to reach out. What we have done in conjunction with the New York State Office for the Aging over the past 3 years now are really to try and innovate with public-private partnerships because we know the need is way greater than what we're able to serve with our traditional network and our traditional infrastructure. And what's happening in the tech space has really been incredible. So there's a couple projects that I wanted to highlight. Some of them are completely free for any New Yorker, so you can access these tomorrow, not only for yourself or a loved one, but if you're working in any type of community-based setting or a hospital, these are resources you can deploy tomorrow at no cost to your organization that are going to assist older people. And again, I put a link here that you can access all of those innovations, which are posted and has links to how to actually get into them. So next slide, Lou. The first one that I wanted to highlight, and this is not free for all New Yorkers, but I think it is the one tech program that really shows how amazing tech has become specifically for the older population. And it is something that we're deploying. We have over 900 units out. We're going to continue the project, but it's basically an artificially intelligent driven companion robot that uses proactive artificial intelligence to learn with you. And when I say learn with you, if you have an Alexa in your home, you have to engage with Alexa to have those conversations. LEQ is completely different. LEQ will engage with you. And then LEQ will learn your behaviors over time. You can see how cute she is. The swivel that lights up will actually follow you around a room. She knows when you wake up in the morning and she'll say, "Good morning, Becky. How did you sleep?" If I say I slept really well last night and I've told her the previous 4 nights that I didn't sleep well, she's going to say to me, "What did you do differently that you slept well last night? Was it the deep breathing exercise we did before you went to bed?" And it just continues to build that knowledge with you as a companion. Has a whole wealth of different programs to really increase meditation, to talk about wellness. It can ask individuals how they're feeling. It can then connect them either with their primary care physician or with a case manager through a local office for the aging. The screen that you see there, you can send photos and pictures. You can Zoom with a loved one very easily, video calling. And what I wanted to point out is now that we've done these projects for a few years, we're really getting some data. The data from LEQ has been really unbelievable. 93% find it useful. 93% said that it actually reduced loneliness. 95% indicated that it actually improved their overall wellness, and 90% said it improved overall life. So again, really amazing intervention that we were able to deploy moving forward that you can absolutely look into, but we will continue this program moving forward. And then the next couple slides, Lou, these are all completely free programs. I can't underline that enough. Get Set Up are online courses in communities that help keep older people in homes, learn new things, and interact with others who share the same interests. Get Set Up is exclusively taught by individuals over the age of 50. You could actually get paid if you have a skill. So Lou, if you wanted to hop on Get Set Up and do elder law interventions, you could get paid through Get Set Up. And
I would be teaching pickleball, I think.
or pickleball.
Yeah, that would be my class.
Or how to swing a golf club. It's really, Get Set Up is pretty amazing. And I think what we have found, we have over 500,000 people that have taken these online classes. The first set of classes that you start with, because people always tell me, "Well, Becky, older people don't want to do tech." That's not true. Older people absolutely utilize technology. It's a slower, decreased uptake than the general population, but they absolutely do. Get Set Up, your first classes are how to use your iPad, your iPhone, your Android, and how to Zoom. So you have the base on how to take those classes. And when you look, since implementation of this, we have had so many classes taken, over 500,000 classes, over 500,000 New Yorkers have been supported. Tremendous value in the classes being offered. The number one class that is being taken, which was surprising to me, are health and wellness classes. But you can take a photography class, you can learn how to play guitar, you name it, it's available. It's available in multiple languages. And again, this is completely free for any New Yorker. So if you're on this call and you're interested, you can get on Get Set Up. If you have a loved one, they can get on Get Set Up. And more importantly, if you're publicly facing and you're supporting older people or people in the community, give them this tool, let them play with it and see if they find benefit from it. We've seen overwhelming feedback that this is a program that is highly valued by the older population, and people are learning new skills and getting paid to do so. So really great program that you can share with anybody in your community. Ageless Innovation, Joy for All Companion Pets. This is another one that I think is really amazing. We've been doing this since 2018. A lot of people have seen the animatronic dogs and cats. These are robotic pets that actually interact with the user. They are amazingly lifelike. People love them. We have deployed over 35,000 pets across the state. We did this as the pilot project prior to COVID. And then obviously COVID, we saw a huge increase in social isolation. We targeted people that did not have cognitive impairments. So people that understood that these were robotic animals, but they couldn't manage having a dog or having a cat in their home. And again, when you talk about the interaction, if I have the cat and I'm petting the cat, she will purr, she will lick her paw. I can actually feel her vibrate. So if I have a hearing impairment, I can actually feel her purr. If I leave her alone, she'll go to sleep. And then if I touch her again, she wakes back up. So you turn them on once, you don't have to deal with them again. They also have the walker squawker, which is either a blue jay or a cardinal that goes on your walker. And if you get up and forget your walker, your bird is going to let you know because she's going to talk to you. So we know it's going to prevent falls. We've seen these in senior housing communities. People love them. And then the same company that has done these pets has done a reimagine of all the traditional board games. So Trivial Pursuit, the Game of Life, and Scrabble. We've hosted over 100 reach out and play events where we've actually paired different generations with one another. And I've played this personally at some of these events. I played it with my family. And like in the Game of Life, you're different generations, right? So the greatest generation might have gotten a card that says, collect $200, you were drafted, and you served your country. And then a millennial, pay $200, you took a year off to find yourself in your mom's basement. So it plays on those generational stereotypes. It really gets conversations going. So again, we've done over 35,000 of the intergenerational games, 75% reduction in social isolation and loneliness for the users of the pets. Again, every office for the aging in the state of New York has pets available. Just make the call and reach out if you think that this would be a good fit. Or if you'd like to have a multi-generational game night, reach out to me. We will get that set up, and we will help you host those. And then also wanted to really highlight the New York Caregiver Portal, which is called Trualta. Again, over 100 people on this call are currently in an active caregiving role. And you guys know this, if you reach out for caregiver supports and do a general Google search, you're going to be inundated with a ton of information, and everyone's caregiving journey is completely different. So the beautiful thing about Trualta is that it's customized. So if I go on Trualta and I'm dealing with, say, my mother with a cognitive impairment, I'm only going to get information that's pertinent to my caregiving journey. So I'm going to get information about sundowning, how to manage behaviors, what resources are available through different options. Versus if I'm dealing with someone with a spinal cord injury, I'm only going to get information about, how to safely transfer or supports specifically for that condition. So it saves immense time as far as a caregiver is concerned. And then it also has a variety of different ways to get your information. You guys know this, not everybody learns the same way. I can listen to a podcast as I'm making dinner. I can watch a video. I can print materials and read them. And what they've also instituted, which has been massively successful, is a completely anonymous, no video, peer-to-peer support program. And what they're finding is that when you get online, you can be anonymous, you can be honest about the frustrations and the guilt that you have as a caregiver, and the interactions have been amazing. So again, when you look at what the state of New York has done, we have over 3,000 caregivers, have taken over 17,955 classes. We've seen a 20% reduction in hospitalizations. 75% of caregivers have indicated that they were able to keep a loved one at home. 92% said that they gained a new skill. So this is massive data from the general community on the impact that this is having. Again, it's completely free for any New Yorker. Use this in your personal life, your professional life. We're trying to get it in the hands of as many people as we can. And then we also have Archangels, which is the Caregiver Intensity Index. Takes less than 2 minutes to do. Again, we know this from the data that we've seen in the state of New York, but also nationally. 55% of people in the role don't identify as caregivers. 50% of us are using food. Everybody knows this, right? You're up late trying to take care of someone, go to the refrigerator, using food to cope and reduce stress. 33% of caregivers are using substances to cope versus 3% of the general population. That is stunning. And 31% of caregivers have contemplated suicide versus just 3% of the overall population. So again, this is a massive issue in the community. The Caregiver Intensity Index is completely free for any New Yorker. It's called the Any Care Counts campaign. It instantly puts you in the green, yellow, or the red. If you're in the green, you're doing okay. If you're in the yellow, you're probably having some impact. If you're in the red, you're having at least one mental health impact based on your caregiving journey. And that doesn't stop there. It then gives you the top buffers to your intensity. So what's helping your intensity score? It might be of a really supportive employer. And it might be that you're really well versed on insurance plans, and that gives you your top 2 drivers, which frequently is really dysfunctional family fighting over who's providing the care, or being a sandwich generation caregiver. So it identifies the areas that are helping you and the areas that are burdening you. Again, free for any New Yorker in the state. We're using the Caregiver Intensity Index with all our caregiver support programs because data is power, and being able to say to, the state and the federal government, look at the rate of suicide contemplation in caregiving population. We have to do something to assist caregivers in a more broad sense.
So, Becky, we are out of official time, and there are a few more slides, more initiatives, more things that people can access. But I'm going to go right to this slide and allow people to access them. We have certainly done that. We've been part of the program working with yourself and with Greg Olson at NYSOFA. And if you're sitting out there saying, well, why doesn't New York State do something about these problems? They are. These are the solutions that are being implemented through Becky's group and NYSOFA. And these are things that are so out there that people don't know they exist, and they don't think that they have access to this kind of resource and the resources. So going through your local county office for aging will get you plugged in. Going to the website will get you plugged in. And then Becky, I think that's it for formal presentation. Any closing comments, and then we'll take some questions.
I would just welcome anybody that has additional questions, comments, thoughts. Absolutely reach out to me. I can put my email in the Q&A if that would be beneficial. And then lastly, to kind of wrap things up, a lot of the work that we do as a not-for-profit that supports the older population is we are fighting as hard as we can to get additional investments in the New York State Office for the Aging budget to support further programs and services that do assist the non-Medicaid eligible population. So that's the other side of the work that we do. And I would welcome anyone reaching out if you want further information or if you have thoughts to share. More than willing to take those.
Before we get to questions, I just want to remind everyone, we will be here for Medicaid Monday, the second Monday of December 9th. And that's our holiday edition. Woohoo! What to expect for 2025. And I think we're all kind of looking with some trepidation about what's going to be coming in 2025 with regard to Medicare, Social Security, and healthcare. We'll see how that plays out. New York State has a budget issue that's going to be playing out in the governor's budget and the next legislative session here in New York. The federal budget is $36 trillion deficit and 1.9 trillion dollar deficit for 2024. So where do we come up with the money and the resources? The innovation that you heard about today is part of that, but we're going to be talking about what to look for in 2025. Will we have a new rule for home care, a 2.5-year look back? We'll find out.